So now that we have been able to see that, let's see how to, of course you'll have seen some form feeds that some websites, so to say, that when there's an error, they they can make this input field to be red. They can make it to be red, and so that you can know that something is not fine at that point. So what we are going to be doing is that we are going to be adding a CSS static file before we now go ahead to add the model and run the database. So let's see how to deal with static files. And of course, this is just like a revision of working with static files. So now what we are going to be doing is we are going to be coming to our file explorer. So we come to our file explorer under this contact docs exactly, which is the application we are working, which is the application that we are currently working with. We're going to come into this contact us, and inside this contact us, let's create a folder called static. Let's create a folder called static, and inside the static file, we are going to be having the name of our application so that we'll be able to differentiate from a static file that is inside contact us application from static file that is inside model and data application and or student management application. So I am going to call this contact us, and in here I'll define the style to be style.css just to conditionally render the template. So I am going to be having some form here, so don't forget that inside this place I have my inside my templates the contact. Okay, I have it open here. I have defined a feed called input feed. So I'll start with that. Sorry, I've defined a class called input feed. So I'll start with that class by saying class input feed, and I'll set a margin bottom of, let me say, 1 rem. And for the class input feed, anything that is the label under the class input feed, and also the class input feed and the input feed that is under the class. Don't forget that the input feed is like a div that is wrapping the label, wrapping the input feed, and also the error message. So I'll display this as a block, and then of course, if you look at this place, if I pick my cursor, I put it here, you can see that I have a class of error list. So this is what I'm going to be using to style my error message. So that's where I'm getting the class from. So class error list, and it's an unordered list. So I'll set the list type to be none. I'll set the list type to be none, and the color of the text so that the user can know it is an error message to red. And I can also set some margin around it to be 0.3 rem, top and bottom, and 0 right and left. So padding, I don't want any padding so that it starts from the right edge. And now if you look at it, when I render my templates, I've conditionally set an error class. If there's no error, this, I don't know if it is too small. If there's no error, this particular error class will not be attached, because when you look at our code again, you realize the fact that I am only adding this errors class at the point when the particular feed has error. So that is when it will display this, it will add this error class. Otherwise, it will only have this input feed. So at the point when there's an error, this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be saying dot errors. So at the point when the errors class is attached, dot errors class errors. No, I should have double R, not triple R. Class error and input field under class error, so that user can know that if there's there's the arrow here. I'm going to set that to dark red. Yeah, set the border color to dark red, and also set the background color to red, so that the user can know. And of course the labels too, at the point when it is an error, the labels too can also take color red. We are going to be seeing all this in action very soon. And now that we have set our class, of course we have set our static file of css. Now what you now need to do is come back to this contacts.html. Because you are using a static file, css is a static file, you need to come above this your template file and then say Django should load a static file. You need to tell Django to load static. So that means you are loading a css file. So you can then come in here and say, just like we learned in our HTML class, so you can then define the link of to be a style sheet, so correctly spelled, and the href, which is the link, and I'm going to say it's a static. And I'm going to say static. Yeah. So just delete this. Now all this intelligence I have them because of the fact that I have Django extension installed. So I am going to now define it as, of course you can see that I have static folder, and inside the folder I have contact us. So I'm going to say contact us slash style. Inside contact us I have slash style.css. So now that I have that, let's see if our static file will be loaded, and if it is not loaded, we stop our application and restart again. Just come in here. Alright, so now that I have that, let me now remove the maximum length again, and I just go the way of more than 10 maximum length, and I submit. Our static file is not attached yet, so the first solution is first to not found. Okay, the first solution is to restart our run on our server. Now that we have restarted, let's check it again. Yes, you can see in here that we have our static file, so that user can, oh, this is an error. So at the point when I reload again, and let me say of course the user will not be able to go beyond, but let me say I remove this maximum length for now. So I set maximum length more than 10. If I submit again, because of that class we have added, you can see that the label is red, just for the user to know that. Because this might be too much for the user to pay, but for now I believe you get the point. You can attach the style based on your own HTML design or CSS design. So now that we have seen how to undo the errors, how to display the error using inbuilt Django functionality. Now what I will now want us to do now is let us see how to create a model and add the details to the database. But before we do that, I want us to add more fields. Of course, we are working with the contact us form. We expect to have a full name, a comment, and the like. So let's see how to add. Let's try and add more fields. So to add more fields, let's come to our form, our forms.py, before we now go ahead to push it to the database. Now that we have that, let us now say level. Let's say, okay, we want to get the level of the students forms dot. This level can, let's say we have 100 level for year 1, 200 level for year 2, 300 level for year 3, and so on and so forth. So we are expecting integer feed, and this integer feed, we have a label of, let me just say students number. No, let me see study level. Study level. Okay, so now of course you don't expect the level to be less than 100, so you set the minimum value to 100. You can see under validation in action. We have seen maximum length, we have seen required, which is true by default, and now we are seeing minimum value. That's under validation for your form that Django is giving you opportunity for you to leverage. Now we have maximum length, we also have maximum value for an integer feed. So let's see, maximum value is 700, and now the comment goes here. Of course, the user want to pass us comments, and we set that to be forms dot character feed, just like we work with our labels. And I can then call the label for this to be comments or query. Of course, if you do not define this label, it will take the name of the feed from. And now of course you expect your comments to have not just be normal form feed or input feed. You want it to be a text area. To do that, you just need to set a widget of forms dot text area, so that we set the input feed as a text area. So we then set the maximum length to be 200. So now that we have that, of course it's a contact us form. The user should drop their email in case we want to respond. So let's set emails, and that will be forms dot email feed, and let's set the label. Of course, by default this is required, even if you do not set it require. By default this is also required, even if you do not set it required. By default this will also be required. So let's just say school, or let me just say email address. So I bring this. Of course, let's save it and see it in action. So now that you have saved, if you come back to this your html contact.html, you realize the fact that we need to now duplicate this, and then instead of us having full name, which is this, we need to now have, of course email should come next. So we need to now have dot email dot errors dot email dot email dot email. So if you save it now, you realize the fact that you have the email feed. Now you can see that we have the email feed, we have the email feed, we have the email